All right. First rule of this channel is we do not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel, this is not legal advice. So welcome to Chasing the Dragon week 9 now, I guess we're up to. Somebody asked in the comments what a 40-degree day is, and I kind of didn't think about the fact that there's probably a whole bunch of new people here. So I wrote this in the comments. There's a TV show called The Wire. There's a character that talked about 40-degree days. No one remembers 40-degree days. From a fantasy football perspective, a player either wins you your week, he loses you your week, or he's just a push. And no one remembers those weeks where your player pushes you. We all remember the guys that win us a week or lose us a week. So that's where it comes from, if you're wondering why I use it so much. So anyway, Chasing the Dragon, this is what we're trying to look at when it comes to actual waivers. The guys that we didn't know about that are going to come through and we're actually going to have to knife fight for, as opposed to everything else. This is a proactive channel instead of a reactive channel. We want to have most of these guys on our benches before they start to tick up, and then we want to have them in our lineups when they do have their spike weeks. That's kind of the idea behind it. But when I get done with all my good research for tomorrow's after waiver show, I do kind of like to look at what everybody else is saying we should go chase in waivers. This is not a particularly good week. Everybody's talking about Will Levis. I do like Will Levis. I did think he had maybe the second most amount of upside out of everybody in the draft. So that's above CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. Anthony Richardson, I thought, was a slightly better athlete, which means he had that a little bit better ceiling. I did like some of what I saw of Will Levis. There's other stuff to be concerned about. Really mixed bag. From a fantasy perspective, there's a couple things why I would go out and I would spend on him if I really was quarterbacks needy. So the first thing is the 7 for 11, 7 attempts on the ground. That's going to give me that little bit of nimbly bimbly that I need from a floor some weeks. So I'm always going to like that. He's going to be in an offense that's going to be run heavy, and it's going to give him a lot of opportunities to push the ball down the field on play action shots. He's got the arm talent for that. So he doesn't necessarily have to be good at football. He just has to do what he did last week. And while the 4 touchdowns may not be sustainable, the 238 and 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, and a turnover a weekly is probably going to be within his range of outcomes. Again, maybe some limitations on how good at football he is. So I would also expect the bottom to drop out in a couple weeks if that's what it comes down to. But overall, because of that rushing floor that he potentially does have, and they're probably not going to pile a lot on his plate and make him just go out there and magically win football games without help. I do like him from somewhere between that high-end streamer to low-end starter type of range. So I would spend on this guy. If I could get him, one of my leagues, I am streaming quarterbacks. So I will go out and try and get him myself. But my other league where I have Jalen Hurts, I probably wouldn't feel the need to put him on the bottom of my roster. He wouldn't be a guy that I would be carrying as my second quarterback in that league if I don't need to. Other guys, running backs, I don't know why people are talking about Royce Freeman. Should have already been picked up. If he was the guy that slipped through your waivers last week, he should have already been picked up. The other problem I have with Royce Freeman, he was at 53% snaps. I believe that Darrell Henderson was at 47. Darrell Henderson got the receiving work. And the only reason why people are popping him up is because he got that rushing touchdown. I actually think I have in my notes for tomorrow that if Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson were one guy, they'd be a running back 1, but split apart. They're kind of a dicey running back 3. So I wouldn't be spending on him at all, especially with Myles Gaskin coming back, and then the possibility of Myles Gaskin being used at all, and Kieran Williams eventually coming off IR for what looks like week 11. If anything, I would be selling Kieran Williams, so I don't really be picking up other Rams running backs, especially now that Matt Stafford may or may not be injured. So there's a lot of stuff not to be spending on this week. I would be more interested in Chuba Hubbard. He shouldn't be available in any leagues, especially if you're the Miles Sanders owner. But if he is available, The 15 for 28, 2 for 2 for 26, like not the greatest thing in the world from an efficiency standpoint, but just from the opportunity standpoint, opportunity being king in fantasy football, I would like that. But again, I would keep my expectations under check. They did pay Miles Sanders. The other running back, Blackshear, I think was his name, he did get a little bit of work. I did see Chuba Hubbard get blown up on a pass blocking rep, so that's probably some of the limitation of why he's there. And they're not a good offense, so I don't magically see him being able to get things done on a week-to-week basis, but he would interest me the most if I was running back needy out of all these guys. And then the other guy I got to throw out there is Uncle Lenny did sign with the Buffalo Bills practice squad. Again, I don't know how interested I would be. I'm sure his name will be popping up tomorrow from like just a splash play, hot take, go out and sign or pick him up. He does have a little bit of interest. I did see that Latavius Murray, the kind of the goal line 2-minute guy for the Bills, hasn't been very effective in the goal line. They probably don't want Josh Allen to be, throwing his body into that direction. So like the work from a fantasy perspective that I would want, red zone and receiving work, that's what Uncle Lenny is good at. So from that perspective, if there's a running back that I would spend on or / be most excited about, it's the guy who's going to a good offense with the opportunities that I want. So that's the guy, and I don't know if he's going to come up on waiver wires or if this is like an after waivers ad to be looking at. Jahan Dotson for the Redskins is interesting. He probably was dropped in a lot of leagues. 85% snaps. I think he had like 72 air yards or something like that. So he's the Redskins are pushing vertically down the field. I do like that. The big reason why I would pick him up if I'm wide receiver needy is Curtis Samuel went down with a toe injury. So the opportunity that Curtis Samuel was getting may go to Dotson. And because of just how the offense is functioning in Washington, they may not be a good offense, but just the production may be there for Dotson. And with that opportunity opening up, he becomes more of a sneaky, like not necessarily safe floor wide receiver 3, but he could even creep into that wide receiver 2 range if they keep doing what they're doing. I think like Scary Terry had like 100 and something air yards last game. I have to look at my notes, but anyway, showing how prepared I am. But yeah, like getting a piece of this, and it should be relatively cheap. This is a guy that I would be looking at if it's available. I already talked about Rashod Shaheed last week, should have already been picked up. The biggest issue, I was expecting him to eat a little bit more into Michael Thomas's range. He only was at 27% snaps. So he's just very efficient when he does get the opportunity. 3 for 3 for 153 and 1 tug. So again, like I've been talking about guys like this. This is the type of guy that I like to roll out in my wide receiver 3 spot, my flex spot, because like that 40-degree day isn't going to necessarily hurt me from that position. That sub 40-degree day isn't going to hurt me from that position. But that spike week is really going to help me win my week. So a guy like him is good to be rolling out. And again, he just seems to be getting able to get home when they do give him opportunity. So I might expect that he would get a slight bit more opportunity going forward, which is going to be less efficient, but it will lead to more predictable outcomes. That makes sense. And then finally, Trey McBride, we've been talking about him since the usage flip happened in week 6. So it happened week 6. We saw it again week 7 with Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz went on IR, should have already been picked up. If he's not already picked up in your league, I would probably be spending on him. 82% snaps, 14 targets. He had like 3 red zone targets, something like that, 10 for 95. Led all tight ends this week in air yards at like 112 or something like that. Like, yeah, like if you're tight end needy, the farm, unicorns don't grow on trees. We're expecting an uptick on the overall efficiency of the offense once Kyler Murray comes back. I don't necessarily think it's going to be sustainable for 14 targets. That's ridiculous, let alone for a tight end. But to fall on that 6 to 8 target range with maybe some vertical shots into it wouldn't surprise me. And then if there's a slight uptick in overall, scoring from the offense, he could get a piece of that. So like, yeah, there's a lot to like there going forward, knowing that like Kyler Murray's coming back. So yeah, I would be spending on Trey McBride. So anyway, that's about it. Keep this a little bit short. Chasing the Dragon week 9, and yeah,